Here we are at the beautiful Keyano Recital Theatre. Up at the front of the stage here, this is called upstage. To upstage is also a verb. It means to do something in the background. Well, the other actors who are supposed to have your attention are losing that attention to something else that's happening. Today, we're going to talk about how autism has been constantly upstaged in our society. It'll allow autism to take center stage, allow the spotlight to shine on it for just a little while. Why did this happen? Why are we here? I suppose it started with us moving in next door to Carla about 5 years ago.
How lucky are they?
And realizing that though my wife and I, we have 4 children, that there was an entire experience with children that we had not had. And grew up in large families, that sort of thing. And so as outside observers, we're both a student of culture, and so we're reading and trying to understand, and it was just so difficult to understand. So we started spending more time, asking more questions, and I just realized this is something that people need to better understand, and they don't. And I can say that quite safely for myself as an educated person, like got through schooling and all that stuff, but at the same time, there's so much that is in the gaps. And so my hope is that in this book, we're kind of putting autism on stage. So I've called this upstaged, and it's very easy for those people with autism, with people who don't have a voice or a loud voice, for them to be upstaged by other things. And so we're going to intertwine some of our conversation today with some of the production of tomorrow, with the music and the celebration of all the gifts and talents that we have, so that we can showcase both of those things together. Okay? So that's kind of the idea. Is there anything else that maybe we should add?
No, I think I love that you admit you don't know what you don't know. And for me, I said to Josh, because he said are these questions okay? And I said I think that we all just appreciate that you're taking the time to ask us questions rather than make assumptions, because that's my pet peeve when people are like, oh, I know someone with autism, and what's your kid's superpower? And listen, it's more than that.
Goldfish, nobody's
right?
You would not believe the amount of goldfish we put away.
A family box. And I just hope I'm really honored that you're joining me, because it's not an easy thing to talk about. Several people declined because they were like, I just can't. I'm not ready.
Where did you get
it's
this?
Too raw, and it is raw, and I fully expect to cry, because I was talking to Frank about it last night. Even when he and I talk about it, we get emotional, and we're living the same life. Even his perspective is different than mine, and so I'm really glad that you're joining us today, Blake, because I really wanted a dad's perspective, and and totally, if you feel comfortable talking about your personal experience rather than on top of your parental experience. I think the world needs to hear from all the sides, because I think sometimes parents, I know when I served on the autism board, a lot of individuals with autism were very upset that it was always the parents talking, but right now my kids cannot. So this is why I'm wearing this shirt. I'm his voice, he is my heart, because yes, he has a voice, he can ask for simple things on the iPad, and my hope and dream is that they can both ask for things eventually, but right now, I'm just advocating my butt off for them all day long.
Being verbal is not always communication.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably, I'd say our family member, maybe your mom. My mom, no.
Not mine. Mine flat out told me my kid would grow out of it.
My mom has experience. She took care of adults with autism. So she kind of, right?
Yeah.
But not any friend of mine with any atypical child understands. Really.
That's it, right? Because when you say we had a hard night, that looks so different in our homes than a hard night could involve ripping up the carpets the next day in my house, which just happened.
Yeah.
Very yeah. And I think sometimes when people ask me how was your day, I'm very It depends on like how much time you got. Like,
I hate that.
right?
Like,
Like,
how are you doing? Like, do you actually want to know, or
Yeah.
should I just say okay?
yeah.
Like,
And
you
depending
just
on
want to
who
hear
it is,
okay, right? Like, I want people to say, how are you doing, but want to know how I'm doing.
Okay.
Because it always feels like such a loaded question. Like, hey, how are you? You just say that in passing so quick, and the expectation is okay. But in reality, I'm spiraling down the drain and I need help. But you can't say that. Like, I mean, you can, but society doesn't really accept that. People are thrown off by that. If you give them an honest answer to how you're doing, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I just was looking for an okay there.
As a parent, as a father, and a client, because I too am on the spectrum as well, high functioning obviously, and recently diagnosed. I think that the viewpoint of what's normal to most people isn't necessarily the case for those who are sitting around here right now. Like you see it in the media and social media exactly like what a normal family is. Our normal is not the same as Carla's normal, obviously, because our son, he's has Asperger's, but it's not the same. But it is, but it isn't kind of thing. So when you talk about norms and everything, I think like it's not really portrayed well, right? Like I see like most programs that you see out there is usually this nonverbal child, which is fine, and like I've very rarely you see like I've seen maybe usually in reality shows with a child with Asperger's, but in like made for TV, no. Right? Like I know like there's been shows like, with kids. What's that one Parenthood you used to watch?
I was
Right,
thinking about
Max.
that this morning.
Right, Max.
That was
Basically the only one. I was growing up. I'm a kid of the '80s and '90s. Never did you see a child with autism.
Sure.
Ever.
I agree
And even in
100%.
our neighborhood, we never saw a child with. I mean, I know Derek
100%.
was down the street from me, and over the next street in East Valley, there was another child, but that was it, right?
and I don't know that they even called it autism.
I
back
didn't know.
then.
Right.
I
and
never knew a thing about
mentally
autism growing
challenged.
up.
Yeah.
Was the term.
It's
Yeah.
getting
I knew
better,
about
but
Down syndrome. I knew about.
Oh, of course it's getting better,
not
but
a thing about
like
autism.
there's
just
no
growing
way
up
to
then.
portray it though. Every single person is different, right? So they're gonna pick a high needs child to portray, but really, like you look at my kid, he's considered high functioning. I hate those words, but he still can't do lots of things. But if somebody just meets him on the street, they'll be like, "Oh, that kid's a little weird,"
What
but
drives
they
me
would
nuts
never say, "Oh, he's
is
clearly
that-
autistic."
Right.
What drives me nuts on a personal standpoint was that when I was diagnosed last year, and I had friends of mine saying, "So is everyone else." That really pissed me off. Excuse my language. That really ticked me off
Yeah.
because I'm like,
Not the same.
okay, no, it's not the same. I had to go through several people for it. I had one doctor. No, okay, so I'll just rewind. Our son Caleb has Asperger's. It took years for him to get his diagnosis, right?
Well, with Caleb, so I think at least my
Yes,
perspective
can you make it
is
on
that most children are diagnosed at a young age, 2, 3, 4. Caleb is now 17. And actually I was going back through organizing my office and found all of his assessments starting back at 18 months. So at 18 months, we started with speech therapy because he had a moderate to severe speech delay. And when he started early entry, they had concerns and we went through the assessment process and they diagnosed him with sensory processing disorder. And so then 3 years later, when they did all the assessments again, it was like, oh, he also has ADHD. And then 3 years later, when we went through all the assessments again in grade 6, I said, after watching Parenthood, of all things, I said, I would like an autism assessment done as well. And so I did the pre-assessment with the psychologist, and he was like, he absolutely qualifies to do the ADOS. And so at grade 6 was when we got the autism diagnosis. So it was early entry, grade 3, grade 6. So going into high school, it was the trifecta of sensory processing, ADHD, and autism. But at every stage going through school, even though he had the IPP, which very clearly explained what he needed, what supports he needed, when he needed them, it was a constant fight every day, every year, to ensure that he was getting the support he needed. From as simple as he needs to go to the sensory room for 10 minutes. And after a week of him coming home in the evening just so distraught and hated school, and I would wake him in the morning and be like, hey dude, it's time to get up. I'm not going to school, I hate school. And it took a little bit to figure out that he wasn't going to the sensory room at the midpoint of the day like he needed to get that release he needed to be able to pay attention and function. They were taking him at the end of the day. And when I asked why, it was like, well, that's the only time we have someone available to take him, and we don't want him to miss core instruction time. I was like, well, you're doing yourself a disservice, because while his body may physically be in your classroom, he doesn't hear one thing you're saying because he is just trying not to explode from all the sensory input that he's been getting all day long. So while he's physically there, he's not mentally there. He's getting absolutely nothing from your math instruction. You're making him all nice and calm to go to after school care. So I'm sure that they're very grateful for the fact that you've waited till the end of the day. However, my son has gotten absolutely nothing. So he needs to go at the time that's specified on his IPP. And you need to figure that out, because that's a you problem. You know? But this was every single year, every single day of ensuring that all the supports that he was supposed to have, he had.
That drives me crazy when I see like educators like that. Just you put these programs in place that you have to be your child's best advocate. Because if you don't, you have to be on top of it. Because if you don't, stuff like that happens, right? Like,
and for Caleb, I mean, as horrible as COVID has been and as negative, the one good thing that came out of it for us was the online learning. Because I've said for years that I felt that he would learn better independently and not in a classroom with all the distractions and all the kids that are real good at like picking and targeting when the teacher's back is turned to make him explode, and then he gets in trouble. That was constant. He just really struggled. So I always knew that his report card didn't reflect his true ability. And with COVID and the switch to online learning, in grade 10, he was getting 60s and 70s. In grade 11, he was getting 80s and 90s in online learning.
See, online learning was detrimental to us because social interaction is something
It was horrible
that
for us.
both of the boys need to work on. Because when you have a child that barely makes eye contact and doesn't know how to play properly, and then all of a sudden you're home alone with your other child who's on the spectrum, it's very like, okay, like, and we couldn't even send them to daycare for a while there, and play groups and play dates were non-existent, and it was like, really the onus was on us to make them reach their goals, and I felt like we felt so isolated because we didn't have our team in place. I mean, we were emailing them, but it's not the same.
So I felt like Carla. I felt like they both missed a whole entire year of opportunity, just gone. Like
even being in specialized services.
England, they kept the schools open for special needs, and I was thinking, why haven't they done that here? The teachers are still going, the aides are still at school. Why not open up the doors for the special needs? Because there's only like 3, you know? Anyway.
Yeah.
Near the end, actually, Magda let our boys go for a couple of days, a couple of days a week.
Yeah. It was definitely challenging.
I yanked
For
mine
sure.
out for homeschool, so.
Yeah. Everybody had a different
Isolation
reaction.
is my
Maybe
jam.
once-
Lock
maybe
it
when they're
down.
older, maybe homeschool probably be better.
Our diagnosis was a lot different too.
There's some chaos happening, but I think like that's our real life too. At first I was like, my insides were like, oh, Kathleen shouldn't be jumping on stage, but I'm like, but that's like my
I was
life.
gonna say, like, I know it's happening, but I'm able to just
Right.
completely.
Look at them run. They're gonna
And,
be
like,
so quiet when we go home. It's gonna be great.
I think
In
I
what
should-
world would we actually all be able to sit together, kid-free, as adults, and have these deep conversations
No.
without
I am
some
so
interruption?
distracted
Are
because that's
you?
me,
Yeah.
right? That's
You can
Yeah.
run
Play,
too.
I
we'll
could-
run
I
with the
could-
kids. It's okay.
I don't run, Dizzy.
Jumping jacks.
Oh, with the brick and 20s. I always felt like the analogy for autism, especially with the puzzle pieces, that's what really clued in for me. And I said that to, I mean, the first, I'm not going to call him out, but the first guy that I saw here in town who basically said, no, you're not, with a 10-question survey after 10 minutes of meeting me. Right? I was really agitated about that, but I mean, it's the whole puzzle piece, and I keep referring to this. I'm trying to put the pieces together that make up Blake, and I always felt like something was not right, because like people would say, like, I'll just sit there and just say nothing, and they think something's wrong with me. I'm not always smiling and stuff, right? Like, but I mean, if I'm just sitting there being quiet, 9 chances out of 10, like, nothing's wrong, right? So there's like, it's just figuring out that puzzle. That's what really, and I'm still figuring out. I mean, for an adult, it's not as easy as a child. Trust me,
Say more
because
about
they
that.
have no records of me growing up. They have no records because it wasn't, like I said before, it wasn't really referred to growing up in a school system, in the Catholic school system in Newfoundland in the 80s and 90s, that this was never talked about, right? Like, and same thing for mental health too. But with autism and stuff, like, it was never, and I know like there's other classmates of mine that fit the bill, right? And referring to my child, I see a lot of myself in him. But yeah, but getting back to the question, like, it's not easy for an adult, especially when we get diagnosed at like 46, 47, because usually the answer is, well, you've done well so far.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you for that. Thank you.
You're
Really?
an excellent masker, perhaps.
So,
He is a fabulous master.
Yeah.
Because it's so very often, and I've said this to Blake so many times, I would love for people to see the Blake that we see, because Blake puts on a real good face and a real good front when we're outside of the house. But I can promise you, the moment that we sit back in our car, that mask will come off.
Because he's
Yeah.
able to be vulnerable with his friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
So
Yeah. It's something I'm struggling with lately, because I find people will often say, well, God only gives you what you can handle. And I hate that. I really, really, really do, because, sometimes it brings me comfort, but most of the time I'm annoyed by it, because the people who are saying it to make themselves feel better about our situation. I mean, we got a diagnosis in 2018 for Patty, and then again in 2020 for Kelton. And it's hard, and it's hard to, and just the other day I experienced extreme envy of my coworkers. We were having parent-teacher interviews, and the QB staff made us a beautiful meal, and to surprise us before our PTIs, but I knew if I didn't go home to see the boys, I wouldn't see them at all that day, and then they may not sleep. So instead of being able to enjoy a meal with my coworkers, I went home, which I don't regret, but it made me sad, because my life is so structured that if I can't even enjoy a little meal with my staff, because there will be repercussions for that later.
Yeah.
And people are always like, oh, you just need more me time and you just need more self-care. But it's like, at what point would you like me to do that? Because like self-care happens at 8 p.m. when the boys go to bed, if they go to bed, like really.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like my husband and I planned a trip away for one night to Edmonton, and we had to cancel it twice already because illness or something had occurred, and we just can't leave our boys with anybody, right? So there's I'm envy of people's freedom, and I know parenting is hard for everyone, but it's like next level hard for us, I think, and that's why I connect so much with families that are experiencing similar lives, because they get it. They get that you don't get to sit down at a park and go on your phone because you have to watch your child at all times for safety reasons. Really.
I mean, I was just missing one a second ago. So I got up, one was missing.
I really wish I brought mine this morning. I just feel like they could have, I don't know, I just felt like I wouldn't have been able to let them go.
Yeah.
I know you said no worries, but I was like,
Carla said no worries, and she's one of the people I trust, so I'm like, game on. Game on. Stanley boys in the house.
But that's my envy thing. Like, it's just, I
I
sometimes
don't
dream
envy
about what it would be like to raise a typical child. And when people ask me, is that normal? I'm like, I don't know what normal is.
Neither do
And
I.
I love your shirt. Normal is equals overrated, because that's so true.
I had somebody ask me that, is it harder to raise your kid than a normal child? I'm like, first of all, normal's highly rude. Second of all, I have no idea. This is my life.
right.
Yeah.
I have no idea what your life is like. This is fine for me. I grow in the fire. Like, this is what we do. I don't feel like I envy other people though.
But even with a neurotypical child, what is normal? Like, I couldn't tell you. And as the sibling of a neurodiverse child, it was hard for him too, because he was the mature child. He was always very mature for his age, but he missed out on things because we would have to leave. Like if we went to the firefighters' pancake breakfast, and this was way before any diagnosis, we knew that we had to watch Caleb like hawk, because I could sense a change in his demeanor, and I knew we would have to get him out of that situation immediately, because if we didn't, he was going to have a meltdown, and once the meltdown started, you had to just ride the wave.
Yep.
And so I remember being at a pancake breakfast and having to like run to find Blake. It was like, we need to leave now.
Yeah.
And Nathaniel was devastated because we had to leave this fun event because Caleb was that close to a meltdown.
Yeah, it's hard.
And I guess like with envy too for me, and my husband and I, we took care of a couple friends' kids, you know. And they're typical, you know, they just get up, they go brush their teeth, they put their clothes on for bed. I'm a little envious of, you know, bedtime, they just, like I got one little guy running around bedtime. No, I'm not going to bed, running around. I don't know, and then, I don't know, but it was just really nice to see. And one of my childs is now finally, he's brushing his own teeth, but the other, who's the older one, we're still doing hand over hand and everything. Right? So it's very,
That's her normal.
that's a little envy for me is, you know, good night, hey, get your
The
clothes, kids, go
simple
to bed.
things.
Yeah.
I just want
It's not happening
some
in my
things
house.
to be a little bit easier, right?
Yeah.
And I know that we will get there. But yeah.
For us, we can't go to hotels. Like it's a sensory one child. One of them just, I don't know what it is about hotels, but does not happen. So we're doing Airbnbs now when we go away.
Where they all have their own rooms.
Yeah, and we are stuck in a house and we can lock it. And if we've got a backyard, they can't get her out and they can go run around and play.
Yeah.
But like last year we went to the Calgary Zoo. I went with a couple of friends. And then my friend said to me, how do you do it, Laura? Like, how do you, like, it was my husband, myself, and we had another friend just helping with the boys, but like one's over there, one's there, and their children are just all following. Like, no.
It's not, vacations aren't restful. Like, we're going back to the East Coast this summer to see all the grandparents, and it's been a long time. And, you know, it'll be nice to have a little bit of help, but at the end of the day, like, we know our children best. And if they're having an off day, it's going to be the mom and the dad that have to navigate that, right? And sleep schedules get off on when you leave the house, and different foods. Routine
Routine's
is
a word
so
right there.
important. Yeah.
Routine.
Yeah.
I specifically don't have a routine at our house. Connor was diagnosed very young, at 2.5. He only had 10 words and 8 of them were sign language. And actually one of them doubled up. He had milk and please, but he could do them in sign language and verbal. So I was like, that's 10. It's not 8, it's 10.
Your first words were milk and please?
His very first word was milk.
Milk.
His first spoken word was milk. I'm
Nice.
like, that's a super simple one, dude. Okay. But from the very start, I recognized that I didn't have the energy to have a routine. Like, nothing is going to be set in stone. Every day is wild. We wake up whenever we wake up.
See, I don't have the energy for
Like,
that.
I don't like that kind of structure. Like, it's just too much. So we've never done that. So when I spontaneously say, hey, we're leaving the house because the city is on fire, Connor's like, let's get in the car. Let's go. This is cool. I'm going to put my stuff in my backpack. Yeah, like, he's okay with the disruption. But we travel quite a bit. I just choose places where we have freedom. So we'll go to my aunt's house in Ohio, and she says, it's okay. If he breaks something, it's okay. And I'm like, it's not. But she's like, it is. And she just lets them be. So I just choose places where they can just be. So we still do hotels, and that's a little nerve-wracking. But where'd you get that?
You taking a picture. Oh, good job.
I have no idea. It's Kelvin?
Yes.
Okay.
You
So
just
it's
bought off
probably
Marketplace on Facebook.
Yeah, but he may have. Connor once bought a $500 train on Amazon.
Oh, really?
Oh.
That's.
Hold that thought.
He's very, they're very clever.
Sounds
But
like
I
a good
just
story.
kind of plan vacations around safe spaces, which limits us quite a bit. And Connor loves roller coasters, and he says, can we go to Disney World? I'm like, man, you would hate Disney World. Think about the lines and all the people and the waiting. Like, you have to stand in line for 45 minutes and wait, to get on a ride. That's not going to happen. So I'm like, let's hit Galaxyland. He's like, I love Galaxyland. There's an option. Like, let's find another option, because this isn't happening.
Vacations for us, especially with Caleb, was that we had to give him a heads up. Right? You know, because routine is still massive with
huge.
Caleb. Like, I remember, like, I used to take him before the wildfire to the Calgary Fan Expo, because he loves, like, he's not like me. He's into comics, and he's into superheroes and stuff like that. So I took him to the Calgary Fan Expo to meet celebrities, have a good time and stuff. But in order to do it, that comes with a price as well, because this whole standing in the line, and the only way that he could do it was with VIP pass, right? And that comes with a price, but also comes with the fact that I'm willing to push out that money so that we can jump the line and get him going where it was. And God forbid if there was a change in the schedule. And that's where, like, I don't really envy people, because I know, like, that's a very overused word, but, like, I understand where everyone is coming
not
from
gonna fix it. It's not
in this table, right? But, like, with Calgary, it's just like, I'm not sure if acceptance is the word to use or not, but like, there's still, even the rules that apply, like for kids with autism with Caleb, was that we had their staff there who were like, some were really good, some were not, because they're like, well, why is he acting like this, blah, blah, blah. And I got into a very heated argument with a couple of staff members down there, because, you know, he's like, well, he needs to go over here. And I said, no. He has a pass, and he has a accessibility pass, right?
Yeah.
So, but vacations for Caleb. I remember one time in Mexico, on his birthday. You remember that meltdown? We had we were in Mexico. So for his birthday, we were like, the first day we were there.
Flew on his birthday.
So automatically, it was out the window. It was the worst birthday ever. And like, with kids with autism, and I'm the same way, it's either the best or the worst. There's no middle in between, right? There's nothing, right? So we arrived there, and of course, we were late going, and they forgot that we were telling them, so yeah, we're gonna go here, we got a birthday celebration for you. They forgot about it.
We went into the restaurant,
Yep.
and there was nothing done and nothing
And
done.
he was
bolted.
devastated.
Bolted out of the restaurant. It was his the worst birthday ever. This is the worst vacation ever.
I probably would have done
And the pool was already closed when we got there, so we couldn't even go swimming. Like everything that we had
Hyped up to be.
Yeah.
that this is what we were going to do when we got
can't.
there, it was too late.
Water
and
slides were closed. This is closed. This, you can't. And once they start hearing, I was over Caleb was can't. When you promise. If you're going to promise him, you better deliver.
Oh yeah, you have to be really careful.
You're
with
held,
Right?
words.
you're held
Promising.
accountable quite a
Yeah.
bit. Like
That was a
Yeah,
life
what you
lesson
say
too.
for
with him.
sure.
So the next day, we said was the birthday do-over.
Yeah.
And
You get to pick what you want to do.
anything you want, you get it. This is your yes day. And I took him to
I just got goosebumps.
I took him
Never.
to the shop, and I was like, "What do you want, dude?" And he bought a couple of the rubber blow-up thingies to go in the pool. Wherever he wanted to eat that day was where we ate. We were at the pool the entire day.
We're at the
He
same
looked-
place for the whole day.
Well, because we
For
found
eating.
we found we went to the main pool area first, and it was like the music going. I was like, nope, this is not gonna work. So we found this little alcove area that had this little tiny pool, and there was actually some other families there from Fort Mac,
Oh, wow.
and that's where we stayed the entire day. And he was just living his best life. I got all kinds of videos.
has he forgiven you for the birthday?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's
it
good.
was all.
And that's another thing. He can
Memories.
recall stuff, and I'm the same way, that happened years ago.
So kind of,
Hey, it's
Yeah.
like, mine, I'm like a steel trap. That's what my mom and dad used to say to me, right? Like, it's just, and if you
blows
wrong
my
him or like do anything, he will remind you the day, the time, and exactly what you did.
Whew. Glad we don't have that in my house.
So, we have that.
Connor just relives videos. He'll like describe a whole thing, a whole scenario of something that's happened, and I'm like, wait, no, I'm pretty sure you watched that on YouTube, and that's not actually
That's not
you.
real life.
You just put yourself in that video, and he's like, oh yeah.
Aw.
I'm like, oh yeah, verbal's awesome. Yeah, perfect. After 8 o'clock when they're sleeping. And then you stay up until midnight watching shows
Oh.
just because you want to
little
decompress
me time.
and get ready for the next
Rest
day.
is when, no, I don't think there's a rest actually, because when
Your
Caleb
brain
says
doesn't
that,
work.
when Caleb said, and so Caleb, so since our 19-year-old
20.
moved out, 20-year-old, sorry, moved out, bought his own place. So Caleb now is downstairs in the basement. So anytime he says, Mom, Dad, I'm going to bed, I know, well, that he's not going to bed, right? So there is no rest, right? So I don't really think he rests, does he?
No, he does.
Oh, rest for him, not rest for us. I thought it was rest for us.
Oh no, I think it's rest.
I'm
rest for
always
everybody.
constantly worrying about him,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I'm worried about Nathaniel as well, but that's just nature. But I just like, yeah, it's. This lady right here, I see her milestones when she posts with her kids, and
I
it's
love your videos.
I absolutely love your videos.
Oh, thank you.
I do. It's like I know, like
They're so
our
small, but
situation
they're so big.
is similar,
Yeah.
but not similar. Like just what you're going through and stuff. But it's like I absolutely love seeing your posts.
Oh, thank
I
you.
do.
And
I do
like
too.
honestly, when I think about future, I think about like Caleb and like I want my children, plural, to be able to be independent and do things for themselves and forge meaningful relationships, and like eventually the big goal is for them to be able to support themselves, because we're not going to be around forever, and that's so scary to think about, but that's life. And it's like, okay, I need them to learn all the skills to survive without me, you know.
Something the school develops to help the staff, I think, help your child get to where you want them to be.
Because it's like the instructional progress plan or something.
Yeah.
Personal progress plan. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
okay.
Yeah,
And
they're
that's-
awful.
We can work
Changes.
with them and kind of put the same things into our homework.
Yeah.
You know, like I just had my IPP meeting, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, and there's like a few things like at school that and he's doing that, he's not doing it at home. So I'm just like, really, you can pull your pants up after you go to the toilet? You don't do it at home. You better start doing it. Like, you know, like, because he'll just like run around without his pants on or whatever. Anyway, but he does it. So like, and I know he can do things like that. So just little small things like that, kind of for me, it helps out. Obviously, we set our goals for the whole year, and we can see where we're at. We can keep on going back and looking.
I find them
You're
very...
always a year ahead, Caleb, I thought. Like you know, like so for planning for next grade, it starts. I think the moment that say he's in grade 12 now. I know grade 12 started last year when he was in grade 11. Like it's like you're always thinking a year ahead, and
Well, and Caleb's at the stage now too, where like for him, we had to be thinking, okay, post-secondary. So when he started senior high, his math was not strong. He didn't have a good foundation for his math. So I discussed with the classroom support teacher at the time. I was like, okay, well, he doesn't have a good foundation in math. I prefer if he starts off at 10C or 10-3 instead of 10C, so that he gets that good foundation. And you only need grade 11 math to graduate. So then once he did really well in 11-3, I was like, okay, now let's go back and start him at 10C because he needs -2 in order to get to college. So it was like trying to wrap my brain around all of that, plus he still had to have so many 30 level credits and blah, blah, blah. So I relied, and this is where I was glad for the online learning because it was such a small group that I was able to have that regular contact with the principal to be, okay, I'm fairly certain he's on track to graduate, but can you just double check for me? I went to high school in Newfoundland, so Alberta high school curriculum is still not 100% for me, but like even now thinking forward for Caleb, he has no clue what he wants to do. And we've done he met with one of our career service coordinators at Keyano, did the strong interest inventory to find out where his interests lied, and he still has no clue. So when we opened applications for next year at Keyano, I said, okay, dude, time to apply. You need to apply now. And he was like, well, what do I apply for? And I was like, well, what do you want to do? So he had no idea. So fortunately, we have a program called Open Studies, and you can just take courses. It doesn't matter what discipline is in. I was like, well, you have to upgrade your math regardless because you need to get your grade 12 math. I said, so you'll do math, and then if you want to take an English, social, esports, whatever, so that you can figure out what it is that you want to do.
I find the IPPs really emotional to read, and like I am a teacher, so I know the academic side of it as well as the parental side of it. But when you're as a parent reading the IPP and on the first page the word severe is written 7 times, it's just like, oh, because I know he's severe. I know he's not at the level of his peers. And I know that it needs to be on that paper in order for him to get funding next year. That's the thing. When we talk about our kids at these meetings, we can celebrate their successes to a certain point, but if we're seeking funding for next year, we also have to talk about all of the things that they're struggling with. And it's so hard as parents. Like, I just want to celebrate my kids.
I hate IPPs. It's like having, especially when they're little, like ECDP, kindergarten, grade 1, you have the whole team. Yeah. So there's an OT, a PT, a speech therapist, the teacher, the EA, and they're all telling you the things your kid sucks at. And I'm like, I don't need this garbage in my life. That was my favorite thing about homeschooling was there's no IPP. I was like, this is glorious. But for me, it started at diagnosis. When he was diagnosed, I actually told the lady, it was a specialist at the Glen Rose that diagnosed Connor, and I told her she was a liar. She didn't know what she was talking about. She didn't know my kid because I did not take it well. It's hard, and he's my first, so it's hard to have somebody tell you your kid's not perfect. Right? I know that he's perfect now, but then I was like, you don't know what you're talking about, right? It took a long time for us to accept it, me and my husband. We definitely went through that mourning process, but during that process, I kind of gave up on my dreams and my plans for him because I didn't know what they looked like anymore. for me, when I was pregnant, even pregnancy, I had plans. He's going to do this and he's going to be fantastic and we're going to do all these things. And then all of a sudden somebody tells you, you can't. It's just that they say it's a mourning process. And for me, the mourning was all the dreams that I had built up for him. At that point, he was 2.5. So for the last 3 years, because it started when I was pregnant. So for 3 years, I had all these dreams and goals for him, and they were just gone all of a sudden. So the IPBs are horrible. I hate them. And for us, our IPs don't look like do whatever. I have no idea what she was talking about. That math business.
We're not there.
We're gonna get there.
That was totally.
We'll rise up.
Yeah, German. But like our IPPs are social interactions and self regulation and things like that on his IPP. And he's going to be able to do more than 3 math problems 3 out of 5 times a week. Like, I hate them. Like, stop measuring my kid by your measuring stick. I always think about that quote. I don't even know who it was. Somebody said it was Einstein. It wasn't. But, if you judge a fish by his ability to climb a tree, he'll always think he's stupid.
Yeah.
Stop judging my fish. Like, leave him alone. He'll get there. We've started saying it at our house a lot. Just listen. Listen to the words the other person is saying. Even Connor's having troubles at school with his teacher. Like yesterday he got in trouble because he wanted 2 of the click-it snakes in the fidget bin and she'd only let him have 1. And I said, well, did you explain to her that you really wanted to have a long train of the click-it snake instead of just a short train? And he said yes. And I was like, maybe she didn't listen. So we do this a lot in our house. Even Connor gets frustrated with Henrik because he's only 3. He's a 3-year-old. He's a 3-year-old boy. He's a lot of energy. He's a lot of destruction. But he says, Connor, help me. And Connor's like, what? And I'm like, man, take a breath. Listen. He's just asking for help. So I would really like people to listen. Just don't just ask a question and in one ear out the other with the sound that I'm making. Listen to the words that people are saying. When I say I'm struggling, it's not a small thing.
No.
It's a big deal when I say that I'm struggling.
And it's not easy to say that either.
It's not, I'm having a hard time saying it right now, and I'm not actually struggling right now.
I think for me, I just want people to try to see perspective, perspective of my children, of my husband and I. And kind of like Desi, when you ask for how we're doing, stick around for the answer, because the answer is not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be, oh, we're great. Some days we struggle with sleep. Some days we struggle with eating. And I acknowledge that other people have struggles too, but it's this is a unique set of struggles that I think we experience. And I'm struggling, and then I think about my children, and they struggle as well, and I have no idea what their little brains must go through every day, trying to sit in a classroom and trying to navigate the world around them. And I often wish there was a simulator that I could go in and experience the world through their eyes and through their senses, so that I could be
I thought that would be a good idea. They have that fire truck that you can go in and experience what a house is on fire. I'm go in there and put a strobe light and loud noises and make that sensory overload.
For your skin or something.
Yeah, go in there and see what that feels like. That's my kid in your math class.
Yeah, there is a YouTube video, and I'd have to go back and find it again. I wish I had saved it.
It's a sensory overload one.
It shows what it would be like to be in sensory overload, the way that a lot of kids are that are on the spectrum. Or even just have sensory processing.
And that's the thing, and even my 2 boys experience the world so differently. They're the definition of a spectrum. Kelton is a snuggle bug and wants to sing and dance and clap, and if you try to do that with Patty, he's like, what? Why are we clapping right now? He's very stoic, and I wish people would realize that once you've met one person with autism, you've literally met one person with
autism. Exactly.
Just how many times do we have to say it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
My boys are so different.
So yes,
I have one nonverbal and one 6-year-old who knows every country of the world, every capital. Now he knows every logo.
We know flags.
Yeah, logos. He knows flags. He knows every football. But complete opposite.
Yeah.
Complete opposite. And he's spelling like Versace on my wall.
It was almost good at our house.
Okay.
My kid likes to be at home. Like, his happy place is hiding out in the bathroom. He's like, Mom, I have to poop. I'm like, see you in 3 hours, man. Peace out. Or he'll say, I'm gonna go have a good long soak. And that means he's literally gonna go lay in the bathtub until it's ice cold. And I'm like, whatever. If that's what,
Makes you feel
water
bad.
water makes you feel good. Like, there's lots of times he's having a meltdown, and I was like, you have two options here: eat something or get wet. Like, you need to fix this. Like, we need to cut this out. And if your shower's gonna help you, go do that. And he'll come out and say, how do I smell, Mom? Like a man. He has this Crate 61 soap. And that was a challenge. He didn't want to take a shower, ever. And I'm like, what is the problem with the shower? I don't like the soap. Perfect. Thank you. This is the problem we can fix. I will buy all the soap in the world, and you tell me which one you like. No, we don't have a drink. Go. Thank you very much for asking.
Can I use the water?
Yes. So I like the puzzle piece too. I know a lot of people don't. I like it like the shower. Let's figure out what the problem is and fix it.
What's missing? And it's not something that's missing from the child.
No.
It's something that's missing to help the child.
Yeah, you want to take a shower, but you don't like it. Why? Like, there's a lot of digging and a lot of figuring things out and puzzling through things to figure them out. But COVID was great for us. I mean, I homeschooled in 2020, and they loved it. And I only put them back in school because I had all three of my kids at home every day with me, and I realized that it had been 18 months. I had been basically locked in my house with them, and I needed a break.
Yeah.
And school has been awful for them this year. Awful. And I would pull them out like this instant, but I need a break. Like, it's
Gail
a lot.
was really good.
Yeah.
Really good. His first words was, I think it was on day 2 of the lockdown 2 years ago, was, I'm fine. I've been in isolation since I was born.
Oh man.
He's in his element. He is. He's in his element.
Yeah,
It's true though. There is.
Hang on, but there's a caveat to that. He's in his element, but there's a schedule.
Oh yeah, no.
Especially
schedule.
he knows when he has work due, and we had struggles with him, and we continue to have struggles with in terms of getting his stuff on time, submission. Like you have to be on top of it as usual, but with him, I'm good. Right?
Yeah.
Like if the world ends today, I'm fantastic because I'm in my element. I'm home. I'm away from people.
And he was still, because of like gaming and that sort of thing, like he's hardcore into gaming, and so are his friends. So he still had that interaction with his friends online.
Yeah.
See, I found it very isolating myself because, like, I need that adult interaction, and like I said to my husband and I are the only talking people in our home.
Yeah.
And so it was like really eye-opening when he wasn't in the mood to talk, and I'd be like, I'm talking to you, like you're the only person who can talk back right now. And I found it really lonely, and like, yes, I could have picked up the phone and stuff, but like after a while, video calls and phone calls just got so monotonous, and I just wanted that face-to-face interaction, and I needed that for my own sanity and to teach my own students. And I couldn't wait to get back in the classroom. Like, I was so pumped to be with my students
I think they went
and
out
have
the
my
door.
kids be with their classmates, because that's what we all needed to function, I think. But it's really interesting to hear the different perspectives
Well,
too.
we
like,
were still working, like we did do, like I think it was like 5 months we were working remote,
I got sent home first.
but then we were on a rotation, so we were still a week in and a week out, so I still had that human interaction.
yeah, you need that for sure.
I have Matt. Sometimes he doesn't want to talk. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to talk
We're
at
gonna
you.
talk.
And every once in a while you make a noise and we'll pretend you're conversing with me. I'm good. I can imagine a conversation. We've been married 15 years. I probably don't even need you.
Yeah.
I'll just have the whole conversation.
But I get why sometimes that you don't feel like talking, because I think like we are so on all day long with the boys that by 8 p.m. we're just like done. Okay, you go watch your show, I'll go watch mine. And like there is like a shift that happens in your relationship when you have a child with extraordinary needs, because you have to put so much more energy into parenting. And like, I always say to my husband, like, you know, I want to make time for us. I want to go on dates. I never want to become that statistic, because like, we know the statistics on divorce, and we know this for special needs parents, it's way higher.
Yeah.
And I get it. The stress level is like, right? But we're a team, and I can't even imagine.
I don't want to go on a date.
I can't even imagine trying
Like,
to
it's so
function
funny
without
how
my
people are
husband.
different. Like,
in the
I
picture.
don't, that whole date night and hotel away, that I can't.
I mean, it
I
never
have
happened.
I have serious FOMO when it comes to my kids. Like, I need to be there for all the things. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't ever want to be away from them. But like, date night for me is, let's order takeout. Let's have somebody else do the dishes. Let's just throw the plates away. That sounds awesome. Everything.
Every minor.
All the tiny little things, every single thing. And not just for Connor.
We have lots of high fives at my house, plenty, a lot of high
Oh,
fives, a lot of.
cheering, high five, everything.
That's
everything.
basically my communication with my one son is a high five.
And not just for Connor, for all of my kids. Like, the little one goes to the potty, we're all dancing. All of us.
Yeah.
Let's go. Get up. He went to the bathroom. Get over here. Everything. Mom, I bought this kaiju on Roblox. Fantastic, man. You earned it. You worked hard. Everything. Because if you don't, the negativity will just drown you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we celebrate everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Same thing. Like, high score on
Well, we
anything.
We found a way
Keira will
to-
come up and tell you, Mom, Dad, guess what I just did? Awesome. Awesome.
Fantastic.
It'll be every single thing. Like, say he found something. He's a big YouTuber.
Okay.
He'll find this clip from YouTube, and when we're trying to watch TV. He's like, imagine having the director's commentary all the time.
Oh, man, yes.
Anything you're
Yes.
watching, all the time.
Even if
and
you're
it
not
drives
watching it.
head is out of the just
Oh, my
bonkers, right?
I have to
And
have the
like,
remote
he
in
has
my
to
hand
fact
all
check.
the time because it'll be like, okay.
He has to
Yep.
fact check
Oh, okay.
everything. An hour show could take you what, 2 hours?
There's been a couple of times here lately where I'm like, Caleb, sweetie, I love you, but I need you to stop talking so I can watch my show.
Yeah.
Just
But like, if him and his buddies get past a certain level on a game they're playing, and I'm a gamer too, but he'll come and tell us about it. It's like, Dad, I just got past that level, right? And I was like, right, good for you. And it can even be like doing the dishes, right? And he'll tell you what he's doing, right? It's like, well, I'll put out the garbage tonight. It's awesome, right?
Yeah, over the top praise and celebration
Yeah.
and everything.
Because I think that they're aware too of things that they struggle with to a certain extent, and so when they reach those little things, like whether it's pushing a button to communicate something or peeing in the potty or whatever, like those are huge celebrations, because some of those things you've been working on for 2 years.
Yes.
Oh, man, it took us years for Connor to eat chicken. Years for him to eat.
I remember a video that you posted
Yeah.
a couple of months ago. There was a change in your routine.
Oh, I don't know.
It was
I
a,
don't
oh
know
my God, what video was it?
anything.
It was like a 5-minute long
It
video.
might have been Waffles video.
I think it was. That's exactly what it was.
Waffles?
The
Yeah.
Nutella waffles.
They wouldn't
Oh.
because of peanut allergy.
Oh, man, yeah, Connor. He eats Nutella waffles every morning. That's his breakfast. Toasted waffles with Nutella. It was a huge victory because he can make them himself now. And I'm like, get after it. Get your breakfast going. He didn't finish his breakfast one day, and he went to school, and he still had the waffle in his hand. And the school made a huge deal of it because it was Nutella. They're like, throw the waffle away, wash his hands. They went and got his brother. Did you touch the waffle? Wash your hands. And I'm like, it's not Ebola. It's just Nutella. Like, I understand that kids have peanut allergies, but this was like blown way out of proportion. And the issue is there's a kid in his class with a severe nut allergy. I'm like, but also think of what you're saying to my child. Because he came home and he's like, throw all the nuts away. We're killing people. Like, what? Amazing, my guy. He's like, we have to throw away all the nuts, all the Nutella, everything,
he's
because
never
we are
Because
going
it's
to
all
kill
or
people.
nothing, right?
And I'm like, so somebody said something to him, and his mind went, And I was like, we're not doing that.
So we must be careful what we celebrate.
Yeah, I'm like, you eliminated a whole meal from his life in 1 minute.
Wow.
Like, and he wouldn't touch Nutella, he wouldn't touch the waffles. So I remember it. I was mad. That was not a good video.
Yeah.
That was not a celebration. But my kid eats Nutella. Like, we had a huge conversation, and for years, years of working before that, got us to the point where I can be like, listen, yes, some children have this issue. We in our house are fine. Look, I'm eating Nutella. Okay, not dead, right? Like, so, I mean, I was able to dial it back, but if I had not, like, if he wasn't 10 at that point, it would have been a way bigger deal, because I learned a lot over the 8 years of his diagnosis to be able to, like, okay, yes, somebody said that. Yes, I'll talk to the school about the mistake. But again, let's just listen to the words. Some people have problems with it. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we all agree, like, we celebrate every little thing, right? Like, we have like little celebration songs, because, you know, I'm a music teacher. So.
I sing everything too.
Yeah, and it's just like, and we'll be like, Patty, when he does something, and like, and it's funny, like, for Patty especially, I'm over animated all the time because he is so serious. Yeah. And when I can get that little like side smirk, Josh, you've seen the side smirk, it's like, yes, you know, like you got in there a little bit deeper, right? With Kelton, it doesn't take much to like get him smiling ear to ear, but with Patty, it's like.
Same with Jack.
Yeah.
I find that with Jack too.
I think what we need to remember too is it's not just about celebrating our kids. It's about celebrating us. As parents of our kids. Like, Caleb is going to graduate this year.
That's amazing.
If you had told me 6 years ago that he was going to graduate on time with his peers and officially graduate, I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah, that's way too far away. I can't see it happening.
Good for you.
When we talked about graduation, he was like, well, I don't know if I want to go. I'm like, dude, it ain't all about you.
Mom needs this one.
We worked damn hard to get you here, and you are walking across that stage.
She didn't want to go at first, though.
But I kind of told him he didn't really have a choice. He was going to need to suck it up for that one day.
That's amazing. And like, you're right. Every little thing.
No, he's graduating.
He'll take it.
That's okay.
Stay tuned.
You guys, like, I hope this doesn't sound cheeky, but you guys give me hope. Like, I can see potential in our future, because when they're 3 and 6, like, and people are like, what are the plans for the future? I'm like, I don't know what the plans are for next week, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know tomorrow.
I try not to plan more than a year in advance, because it's very difficult to predict, right? And it's not all about what I want, it's what they're going to be interested in, capable of, and all the things.
Oh yeah, interests,
and
man, they change so
they're capable
fast.
of so much.
Like, I want to plan his birthday in May, and I want to know what to get him. But yesterday he wanted to be an ender dragon when he grew up, and today he said an architect. So, I mean, grade 12, I don't know. I also made the mistake of saying you can be anything you want when you grow up. Choose your words. He's like, awesome, I'm going to be an ender dragon. I'm like, oh boy. Okay. We'll cross that bridge later. But he believes in magic, right? You look at TV.
Just this pixelated creature, perhaps.
I mean, whatever. And he thinks magic is real, and I am not taking that.
It's hard not to celebrate that.
Yep, magic is, it's there, I believe it, so.
I just want to say thank you, guys. I really do appreciate the chance to understand a little bit more. I really hope that we're able to do justice to your stories, because they are really awesome. And so in the midst of this, if there's anything that you think that could be helpful, please let us know in the interim. But yeah, is there anything else you kind of want to?
No, this has been great. I love chatting with like-minded people and being given the opportunity to tell our story and tell our perspectives has been. So thank you.
I really appreciate your dude over here tolerating Connor so well.
Great.
But he was sharing his headphones and let him hang his Lego on there.
Willie's pretty awesome.
Sitting there taking videos of Connor running around. So things like that make me believe there's still a chance. That things will be okay.
Yeah.
Like, that means more to me than probably anything else.
Yeah.